Many conclusions have been made in terms of our understanding about who God is. In fact, if you happen to believe in God, the daily life you live is simply a replication of what you think God is like. But what is God really like? If God was present here today physically, how would he interact with other people? To answer this question, we need to look at the life of Jesus, who is the express image of God. The Apostle Paul, commenting about this, says that Jesus Christ, even though he was God, did not think it robbery to be made a little lower than the angels that he created and commanded, to be made into a servant, a humble servant in the likeness of flesh. In Mark chapter 2, verse 15 to 17, we find an interesting story that adds deeper insight to our discussion. Verse 15 says, "And it happened as he was dining in Levi's house, that many tax collectors and sinners sat also with Jesus and his disciples. For there were very many, and they followed him." Verse 16 says, "And when the scribes and Pharisees saw Jesus eating with tax collectors and sinners, they asked his disciples, 'How is it that he eats with tax collectors and sinners?'" How shocking! We see Jesus hanging out with the bad crew, at least according to the scribes and Pharisees. Could you see Jesus hanging out with a bunch of criminals or people who we consider in general to be involved in shady business? Yet Jesus interacted with these people and embraced them for who they were, which is why in turn the verse says they followed him. But we must also understand that Jesus had a discretion in terms of how he interacted with these people. He made his motives very clear. Verse number 17 says, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick." And then he continues to say, "I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners unto repentance." Wow, what if we had the same mindset? How would it look like in our day-to-day lives? See, the Pharisees had a very dangerous doctrine we have to be aware of. They believed that there was a standard of being accepted by God and his people. They called themselves worthy and secluded everybody else as Gentile, a name which is a label of unworthiness. And because of this, they failed to share the message with these people, which caused spiritual darkness not only to them, but also to others. So going back to the story, what Jesus is trying to teach us is that no matter who people are, their background or appearance, we must always have the doors of acceptance opened to them. In other words, there's no standard for coming to church and communing with God's people. However, when we've committed our lives to Christ, like in any relationship, there are some expectations expected of us. And that's where we as church members come in to be examples to other people who are coming to the church. Just like Jesus fulfilled the law as an example for us, we are to follow his example and represent him to others. And as they see Jesus Christ in our lives, they will be transformed. Thus, our spiritual lives will deepen as we see God's power to transform lives, even in today's world.